watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really wanna talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, and he likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am your host, Andy, and with me this week, making a return from just last week, Emma. Welcome back.
You know, when you have a chance to repeat the magic and clear, concise podcasting that we had last week, you gotta do it.
Well, I think the rule is whenever there's an episode of this season where we just get to highlight Vula and Mary is on the bottom yet somehow survives, one of you have to be back on. That's just... So be ready next week, maybe.
Well, hey, with a swap, she might not be on Vula anymore.
Yeah, usually we start these things. John does an intro where he comes up with something and just lobs it at me and I have to respond. But I don't do that because that's work. Not that he preps. He actually generally figures it out 2 minutes before we go on. He's like, "Oh, I didn't get an intro." Every week, it's "Oh, I forgot to do an intro." It's one job, man. But yeah, instead, let's just get right into it. So we already know how you're feeling on the season because you talked about it last week. Catch everybody up. I feel similarly as I did the first week. The second episode really didn't dissuade me on that. So let's talk about this third episode. This episode, how do you like this one? How is this changing your mind at all about the season, if at all?
I mean, it was more fun than last week. Granted, I feel like, episode 2s are rarely super exciting, but I mean, you've got the receipts that when this one ended, I was like, oh, I'm much more excited to podcast about this episode than I was about last week.
I just assumed that was about me.
Suck it, Matt. No, it was the episode. Yeah, I mean, look, there are flaws for sure. It seemed like our commenters were pretty down on it. I'm not, it's not like it was perfect, but it wasn't. I wasn't bored personally.
Yeah, I think on balance, I'd say this was a not good episode of Survivor. It was not good. But I don't know that it was bad, and I'm not doing the meh thing. I think if it was a 5-point scale, it's closer to a 2. But I also wasn't bothered by it. It was there was some stuff. There was things that were interesting. I do think the final tribal had a lot of interesting elements. I'm not sure they were good, but they were interesting. And some of it obviously is just due to some of the convolutions that the show imposes on the game. But it was enough. I do feel that it's a tough season. To start the season, to argue in favor of those who are yeah, these episodes need to be long, because it's kind of I feel like we could have shaved stuff every episode so far, and that was true here. But yeah, I do think it was better than last week. I was very happy when I finally got around to watching last week's episode that I didn't have to talk about it. I'm even happier now because again, I feel like if I'd been talking about every episode, I'd just be yada-yadaing myself. It'd be the same. I'd be saying the same things over and over again. So taking 1 week off. And things have changed enough. Specifically, I think the star, I no matter what your feelings are of the season so far, has been Say. She's been the featured character. Has your opinions on her changed coming out of this episode than they were in the first 2?
Well, I was definitely, as... I don't know if you listened. We know John.
I did.
Because I said you were most likely to. Matt didn't believe me.
I had a lot of time to kill at the airport, so.
Fair enough. Not on the plane. But I wasn't, as low on. Actually, this is a good point. One of the reasons I think I'm a little more positive with this week is last week we talked about comparing it to the pre-merge of 46 and like, hey, but at least there was a, banger post-merge. To me, I still haven't come close to the like dredges I felt about like the Banu hour.
Yeah.
And I know Matt was like feeling particularly negative about say last week. I don't know if he still feels that way. People stopped replying to the Survivor thread once I started posting in it on our Slack, which I find personally insulting. Nobody wants to talk to me, I guess.
Time zones, man. They're all in bed.
Yeah, but usually the next day they follow up. I shared a funny thing. Mary's hot take was that the shot in the dark is whack. That's funny because it saved her. Nobody responds. It's sexist, is what it is.
I mean, there's also that.
Yeah, but anyway, I do not equate Say to the type of character as Banu at all.
No.
For me, for one, and this is not important to everybody, and I acknowledge that it is very important to me. I believe Say would like to win.
Yeah.
And I do view that as I don't think she will, and I
No.
don't think she's very good at it. But I gotta say, she quite literally talked her way out of going home tonight. So, respect given there. Although I feel like that's one of those things where it's like, did you do a good job or did someone do a very bad job? But we'll get into that.
It can be two things. Honestly,
Yeah.
no, I think this is more the other thing. For myself, Say is easily the person I dislike the most on this season. And yeah, she bothered me in the first one. The first episode, I spent time on this podcast arguing that while I understood their desire to vote out Stephanie, they should have voted Stay out. And I actually think the subsequent episodes have bore out that take pretty well, especially because the decision makers that I was speaking to were the next two boots.
Yeah.
However, I do feel like my feelings towards her changed in this episode, and that, I dislike her, but at least she's doing stuff. So, as the episode progressed, I'm like, you know what? I prefer this energy, and maybe some of it is because she got a playmate in this episode. We'll get into. And then by the end, I'm like, I kind of hope she sticks around in comparison to the other options. So
yeah, for me, I definitely still see her as sort of a villain in a fun way, love to hate, not hate to hate.
yeah, and it's definitely not hate for me. It's just I find her annoying.
Oh, I know. I'm just
I should qualify because sometimes it's true hate.
True. Yeah. I would say for me, and this is a hot take for a lot of people, but this is still heroes versus villains coach for me, and not Tocantins coach for me, because I hate Tocantins coach. And he's a big character. I can't with sanctimony on reality TV. That I think is my number one pet peeve, besides just doing horrible things, outside the game terrible, but just sanctimonious behavior. Shout out to our friend Mike Hirsch and our shared hatred of Philip on Deal or No Deal Island.
Hey, sidebar. Which is the worst coach then? We got three options, top three.
Oh, South Pacific.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, South Pacific coach was the worst.
He's not even interesting.
No. And he turns up the sanctum. He uses sanctimony as his strategy. No. I'm with you, by the way. Yeah, heroes versus villains coach is the best coach, and that's because they clowned him. Tocantins is annoying because he was actually the star of the season. That's a problem.
Yeah,
but
I can't compare, say, to South Pacific coach, because South Pacific coach was not interesting.
Yeah. Her style of play and all of that just is kind of at odds with what I'm interested in. But in the end of the day, I'd rather watch somebody that's doing stuff than somebody who is, beige wallpaper. But more than that, yeah, I do think the dynamic that we got this episode between her and Mary, and with the idol chasing and all of that, was legitimately fun. And Say as a part of that fun. Obviously the part that I liked more was the Mary part of it. Mary is very fun. She's got a just engaging kind of personality. But the interplay between the two, I think was my favorite part of the episode. So, again, rather have another one of that than, just the boringest dudes ever.
Yeah, I agree. Like it was a fun dynamic, and also it was just more like, I mean, I know they use the term like, oh, we respect each other, but yeah, it just came across more like we're playing a game and not like early on people were comparing Say to Rome, and even in the previews, like last week, the preview for this week with Following Mary, they're like, oh, it's like Rome and Saul, but that is just not how it ended up coming across at all. Probably a little closer to, I mean, it's not that either. I was going to say, like, if we're talking about last season, like, think of Rachel and Genevieve towards the end, where they're like, well, we know we're not working together, but we can still, like, be something like, oh, I'm going to try to get you, type thing. And that's just more fun. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh, if they both make it through this episode, which they did, like, I wonder if they could end up having an Adam and Jay type dynamic. I'm not sure that I see both of them making the merge even in a swap, depending on how the swap shakes out. So seems unlikely, but those kind of like friendly rivalries, I think, are always fun.
Yeah, at this point, I'd say Say's most likely chance to make the merge is to swap onto a tribe that doesn't go to tribal council.
Yeah. Yeah, if she gets swapped onto a tribe with, like, David, Joe, Eva, who else is really strong? Shaheen. And she'd probably think, like, oh, man, I'm going to be in trouble, and then, like, proceed to never sniff tribal.
Yeah. And then part of that dynamic is, and then this really plays into what happens at the end, is like during all of this, like Say has to like go to her, alliance partners and be like, hey, could you guys do something? And, that was foretelling the future events.
I'm like, no.
No, yeah.
No, I will be lying here. Thank you.
And I also think, I turned a bit around on her. Again, around is not quite accurate. It wasn't a 180 at all. Again, I'm still rooting against her. Is that she was right to be annoyed. Now, again, it plays into why she's not good for this game, and that she had to like let everybody know, both out loud but also like aggressively, passive aggressively. But yeah, man. Way to treat your alliance partner like, hey, burn your idol, but we're all going to vote one way. What are you trying to accomplish here, Cedrek? And, preview for the end, just a complete idiot when it comes to Survivor gameplay. And, yeah, we got that last week, and you were able to talk about it. Yeah, I'll talk about it just briefly because it will relate to this week. But, yeah, his whole, oh, well, I got to tell her, but I'm going to have it my way. It's like you can't do it both ways, okay? Once you tell her, it's going to be her versus Kevin, and you have to choose. You don't get to play the middle here. Again, you pointed it out. The only way possible is if he tells her last minute, in which case that would, maybe describe it like I can't do anything about it. But of course you could, Cedrek. If you yourself don't want Say to go, then the easy way to help it happen is not vote for Say, right? So by forcing her to like waste her idol, and then still voting the other way, it's like, oh, well, at least I get rid of her idol. Yeah, but you also lose the trust.
Yeah, fully agree with you there. I will say, I think if Cedrek, like, in a world where he tells her last minute, right? If Cedrek tells Say, and therefore Justin doesn't flip, that would be 2-2 because Mary didn't have her vote.
Correct.
So that's, okay, but then it's a tie, and then we're really close.
Well, then at that point, you think that, like, Justin's going to flip so that he doesn't go home or something like that, right?
Maybe. I mean, they have to do the, anonymous.
There's a few different ways, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But, like, in that case, you could say, like, oh, I'll vote with you, but, like...
Yeah, no, like, and you could say, like, I won't vote, but, to be safe, you should do that. But instead what he does is, like, you have to do this. And then they come up with a plan where, it's all against Kevin, in which case she doesn't need to do it. And if you've decided that you're going to be an ally, Say is going to be your ally, that's what you've decided by doing this. You've even decided to vote out Kevin, then you should probably not take your ally's idol away.
Completely valid to be upset about that. Not smart to say so. I do wonder. I've got to find a different word for say when talking about say. It's tricky.
Well, I mean, maybe it works out, right? Like the big thing is that she can't say the wrong thing.
But yeah, that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I mean, I would use her full name, but like we're on thin ice with me pronouncing the shortened version.
Yeah,
so.
and they've never said it out loud. Like it's interesting. Her Chiron is her full name, but she's always said say. Even her pregame press, it was always say, which I imagine is due to a lifetime of having to explain how to pronounce your name. But the fact that it's then still in the Chiron is interesting. But I do almost wonder if her talking about, like, well, now I can't trust you, is why the initial first rounds of vote, or at least part of why, because we heard, the reason why. It's like, well, I met Justin first. But is why Cedrek voted for her twice.
Yeah, let's get into that now. I had something else, but we keep getting to it. All the voting at Tribal Council. So many rounds of voting and all the decisions. It was a lot. And I don't blame anybody who had trouble keeping track of all of it, which includes the participants in it, who at no point were able to count out how many votes that Jeff was revealing. Actually, I shouldn't say at no point. By the third time, they kind of finally figured out that one vote was missing.
I mean, I understand that it's a confusing tribal, but I do feel like you should still be able to count to 2, but I don't know.
Yes. But I will be clear, I absolutely feel like they didn't for like 2 rounds.
Yeah, I agree. Based on the reactions to stuff. But
and yes, there's times when they don't reveal every vote, but when the first one is vote does not count, they have to reveal them all to show whether there is one vote that will count. Yeah. But that didn't seem to send it home for Cedrek, and possibly even say. And then they vote again, 2 votes, still kind of. And then by the third one,
I think it didn't for her either, or the second.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she realized Cedrek.
It seems like they don't realize until Jeff points out. Oh, by the way, I have to blow up the spot here, but yes, one of you's not voting.
Troubling to consider, but
this is like fake merge time. There's like 12 of those votes. I get it. You're gonna lose count. There's so much stress.
That's how, Austin gets away with it at like the merge in 43. But this is 2 votes. 2 votes. 2. And one that they know there is a maximum of 3 votes. They know Mary didn't vote.
Yes. All right, so let's kind of get into it, because I do think it threw people off why, like, Cedrek didn't, like, just go home, right? And it's actually fine. This is one thing I want to... The show did not mess it up. Now, it's also fine that people couldn't follow through it. There's a lot going on. But what I think happened with people is that because there was 3 rounds of voting and then Cedrek's final decision, is like, why 2 tiebreaker votes? But they're confusing the no vote for a tiebreaker. And that's why there was an extra round. So we do the first round. Obviously, it's only Cedrek and Say voting. And neither counts. So there was like no votes on anybody. So that's why they have to do the revote. It's not really a tiebreaker. It's now we got to vote for somebody who's eligible to be voted out.
Yeah, this tribal is like a weird... Its closest analog is certainly the Cambodia final six.
Yes.
Except with fewer people and only 1 immunity.
Yeah.
One, like, traditionally, what we'd think of as immune.
Right.
Whereas that one had 3.
And then, 2 contestants not being able to vote, which was not an invention of the show at that time. Oh, so sad that wasn't a thing back then. So they have to vote again in order to put votes on anybody that is eligible. So that's what the second vote is. Now, there are people like, well, why can... So everybody can vote at that point that still has the ability, because we're not dealing with a tiebreaker here. Okay, we get back from there. It's tied. 1 vote Justin, 1 vote Say. Now it's a tiebreaker vote. And for most of Survivor history, the first tiebreaker is going to vote again. Now, if people were wondering then is, well, why is Say allowed to take her part of it when she's part of the tie? And the reason is because it's not like a 1v1 tie officially. There's still options to vote elsewhere.
Actually, I raised my hand. What is wrong with me? It's really giving Justin pointing while blindfolded during the challenge. It's not that.
Yes.
Because she actually could not have voted for. I saw some people talking about, although they might have been meaning if she had voted for Cedrek initially in the first, second, the post Mary round, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Because those were the two people, Say and Justin were the two people who received votes. They are still the only ones eligible to
be voted on in the third round. Yes.
Yeah. The problem is, it's what happened last season, which a lot of people were like, "This opens a real can of worms," and those worms came out last night, this week.
It's because Justin can't vote. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And then I think basically. Then it's that after that.
Well, I should just show for the people, because I followed you, but for the people listening, right. Because Justin can vote, his vote does not cancel Say's vote out. And that's why Say is allowed to vote. Usually they just toss out that you're only allowed to vote for the other person. Your votes cancel out, so there's no point in doing them. But in this case, Justin can't vote, so Say's vote is not canceled out, and thus, she gets the benefit of still possessing a vote. So that's why she's able to vote on the revote. Then, and this is again, it's the third vote, but it's the first tiebreaker revote. And at that point, again, except for I believe one season, it's always been if we deadlock after a revote, the tribe talks it out. Yeah. And if we don't come to a solution, then that's when you go to rocks.
And here our closest analogy starts to be, well, I guess it's still Cambodia, but a more recent thing, and also involving fewer or lost votes is the tribal council, I believe was also round 3 actually, and on a green tribe, but was on 42 where Jenny went home, and it was Mike and Chanel lost their votes, and so it was High is the one we remember basically as a character, but it was High and Daniel and Lydia.
Yeah, that's when Daniel's like, well, first off, before I start negotiations here, I will absolutely not go to rocks.
And High's like, well, I will. And the problem there is that, well, not the problem, but what makes this one different is that tribe had 6 people still. And so there were 2 people who could vote.
Yeah.
And at this point, that was not the case.
Yeah. Due to giving up, surrendering votes, having votes taken away, and then being involved, now Cedric's the only voice.
Yeah, because now it's less about the votes canceling each other out, but it's that it has to be unanimous
among the people who can
vote. And you just can't have and it's because Say wouldn't be eligible for a rock draw. Yes. Because of the votes between her. So that is why she cannot vote in this round. Even though in theory she still isn't canceling out, or Justin's vote's not canceling it out, she would not be part of a rock draw. And so that's why she and Justin are both not involved. And of course, Mary gave up her vote for the shot in the dark. And that's why it's just Cedrek. Yeah.
And, to follow it through, if anybody's still, and Probst has confirmed this, if Cedric's no, I can't decide and we're going to rocks, there would have been one rock in that bag, and it would have been Cedric's.
Which would have been quite the choice.
Yeah.
There was a second there where I did, watching the show, I got a little confused, and I thought, because I think I'm so used to, oh, well, you have to have someone flip at a tie, right? So I'm so he has to choose, Justin, or he would go home, and then I was like, wait, no, that's not what it is. He could still choose between the two of them. So it definitely is, and my mom told me she saw on TV what she was watching on CBS, couldn't tell you, but saw an ad for Survivor that was like, something that's never happened before at tribal council occurs. And we were trying to figure out where, like, they've had people quit, they've had no votes, they've had, what could it be? And like many people, I think, leading up to the tribal, which I saw was at like 9:15, and I was like, oh shit, or even earlier, I think, it was like, oh shit, stuff's gonna go down. It was like maybe a 3-way tie. Like, I don't think but I think there actually have been 2-2-2s. So even that wouldn't have been it. But yeah, anyway, it was in fact unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, not
Much
particularly
like the
historic, but it never happened before. I don't know that I need it to happen again. But yeah, like, again, I don't fault anyone that, like, as it's going, because it's a lot, man. That's a great argument for why maybe there's too much stuff. And frankly, like in this case, it's like no advantages were played. Oh, actually, that's not true. One was. But it's just the stealing of the votes. But like the show did everything within the rules as previously stated, and like even the one like the second vote where Say gets to continue voting, like that had only been established one other time, but that follows the logic of why the rules existed the way they are and why they don't apply now. So it was all on the up and up,
But yeah, it definitely, especially when we consider the last, what I keep comparing it to, the Cambodia Final Six. It's like, well, that was during a live finale, so you know what we got? We got Jeff
that drawing it up,
which John and I were there for in person. Crazy. That was so long ago. I'm so old now.
I know. Imagine just inviting like random people to like watch the finale. It could happen again. So that's all that would happen. But like, now it's more important, like opinion sharing, like what went down. And man, fucking Cedrek sucks, right?
Oh my god, insane choice. It was crazy because I was like, well, this is the better TV choice for sure.
Yes.
But to
vote for her twice. And now it's only up to you. The only vote that matters is yours, my friend.
In the pre-merge, where the consequences are non-existent.
I mean, there is going to be a consequence to the choice he ended up making.
Yes, but you know what I meant.
I know. And then flips on himself for reasons. And let's get into those reasons. So, and look, I'm not going to give him any benefit of the doubt. He has not earned a single benefit of the doubt through both this decision and every decision he's made up until now. And we'll get into that. I think he truly just did this because she made him feel bad and Pizza seemed chill with it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Because, like, and I listened to the exits, and of course he said, that the tribal was much longer, and he did put up a fight,
Sure.
more of a fight, but he obviously wasn't like in tears because we would have seen that. Allegedly, he said they were at least told that it was the longest tribal council ever, which is crazy, but I do believe.
I can believe it because it might have just taken that long for Cedrek to realize, yes, you're playing a game here, sir, and choices are to be made. Maybe he put up more of a fight, but from what we see, he was like the fucking Chuck Schumer of this vote, talking about Justin, and it's just like, I would like things for it to be better, but what are you going to do? We got to let the system play out.
Do what's right for you. Do what you think is best. And especially because, like, at the moment, like, he had a warning, basically, because Cedrek was like, okay, but do you two promise to get along? Jump in and be like, bro, they're not going to. And, like, what do you mean?
Also, what does getting along mean, Cedrek?
Yeah.
They team up to vote you out?
Right, like, my mom texted, she's like, do you think Say really will work with me? And this is before we had the preview of knowing there was a swap, right? And I was like, she just has to be fake nice until they go to tribal. Like, vote her out. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's the most, like, toothless, unnecessary, like, useless promise. And especially because, like, Say gave the argument of like, hey, Justin lied to you. I've never lied to you. And that is true. However, part of what Say has been honest with you about, Cedrek, was that she has lost trust with you.
Yes.
So that's just something I would consider, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
But it worked. And again, I do think like a lot of it was emotional manipulation, which good on her.
Yeah, especially, last week he said, oh, she's like a daughter, like...
Okay, but that didn't stop you for voting for her twice, so...
For sure. But then you're faced with... So maybe he's grounded his kid before, and then she gets out of it by...
Yeah. But I do think also that, he wasn't honest with you once. And the thing about Cedrek that he's broadcast throughout these 3 episodes is that's it. Like, he just wants to play just a straight up game. He doesn't want any kind of lateral thinking. We even get Justin in this episode being like, oh, Ed, I can't really go with a complicated plan to Cedrek. Like, it's going to break his brain. And all this to say, I'm really glad that Justin left. And I was the guy who said, hey, we just call him Pizza. But I find that's awkward. In voice. In writing, I think it makes sense. Everybody knows what you're talking about. But we're actually going to talk about pizza later in this episode. So, like, Justin was just nothing, right? Like, just complete nothing of character. Like, calling him Pizza actually makes sense because that was his soul-defining character trait. Yet, I still think Cedrek is so much worse.
Yeah, and not to be like, wow, people who comment on your sites, your opinions are bad. But like a couple weeks ago, I saw people like, I think Cedrek seems interesting. And I'm like, where?
In what way?
At least Justin had an accent.
And then, like, Justin was the one who was like, well, let's just vote out Kevin. Like, he has shown, like, he's just boring. But I think he's interested in playing some Survivor. And when Cedric's just like, well, I gave him my word. Like, this council where he was voting for Say, he's like, well, I promised Justin first. So that's all we can do here. Fuck the hell off with that. How are we casting that in 2025? That is like, well, I gave my word and that's the way it's got to be.
And apparently, like, Justin even said from his exit presses that it was like, oh, I helped him off the boat. And so it's like, wow, I'm gonna work with you, I'm gonna never write your name down, like, and Justin's like, okay, sick, like, great, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to beat you in challenges later, and people are less likely to give money to a surgeon than they are to a pizza manager. So he's like, this seems great for me. Obviously that didn't work out, but like, that's all it took.
Yeah.
It wasn't even just like, oh, day 1. It was like minute 1. And like, I get these things happen fast, but you gotta kind of mesh, like, see how you mesh with people and personality. And like, the thing to just go back briefly about, oh, it took Say being like, well, he lied to you once and I haven't done that, is it really seemed like, considering that it took until that segment for him to even realize that had happened.
Yep. Again, this is a guy who, in other parts of his life, is probably incredibly smart. So much smarter than me.
For sure.
But couldn't
again,
figure out that like, 1 of 3 votes was missing. Like, that's just how connected to the very concept of the game of Survivor that he is. And that's why I think he is the absolute worst person on this tribe. And I don't mean like currently, I mean from the outset. And, clearly I had nothing nice to say about Stephanie. She wasn't around very long. So it was more just personality typing. I've already complained that like Say is kind of like the opposite of what I like, other than, again, I like dynamism. So that's nice. Now, like having somebody with Cedrek that wants to play Survivor, which is basically to not play Survivor, yet having a voice in the decision making is such a fucking lodestone on everything that's happening, to the point where, the reason why Say is still in the game is probably they batted around the eyes. Like, hey, she could be really dangerous and she has an idol. And he's just like, yeah, I'm not doing it. And then the next week when they're getting their eyes, like, oh, well, I better warn her because I don't want her to go because I gave her my word. And then this, where, he votes for her twice and then flips it around. And it's just like, what are you doing here?
And usually the players like this are at least good at challenges, so you can be like, wow, but what a specimen, that's an impressive feat of strength. Like, we'll probably, I feel like, we haven't seen the vote. Like, I could see Joe end up being someone who works like that. We definitely saw him a little torn between Eva and Star last week. But, we also saw Joe throw a buoy really far and run through an obstacle course like he wasn't blindfolded. And at least that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's like, by all indications, they're not recruiting anymore, right? They're taking applicants, people that want to be on the show. What the fuck about Survivor appealed to Cedrek, and how is he watching this show and assuming that this is a way that you can play it? Like, is it just that he really wants to be on an island starving? Like, I'm not sure where the appeal is for him based on everything he's doing. Seems like, like the concept of Survivor feels wrong to him.
Yeah, it really does make you realize there's just a whole nother world out there, man.
Yeah, and like, I generally get it, right? Like, for a super fan, I'm fairly well attuned to the fact that this is like a popular culture commodity that appeals to a wide net of people. But it's just like, the way he's playing, I just don't understand how somebody could watch a show and be like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Like, because it feels like it's like season 1 type shit. And maybe that's it, man. Maybe I think I've heard, again, I don't listen to any of the stuff. There's some people that only watched early on and then came back. Like, now, again, what held you from applying over the past 30 years or whatever, 25? Yeah, man. Because another way in that his extreme, no lateral thinking played out and to shape this episode is in Mary's ploy. So Mary obviously spends the first day of this episode trying to find an idol to no success. And again, Cedrek, it kind of gives the impression that he felt the idea of like, well, we shouldn't prevent her from doing that. That's not right. Or maybe he just feels like, yeah, I can't go look for an idol. That's dishonest. I don't know. But then, so her next move, once, they lose the challenge, is to just not scramble, right? And thus casual and hope that her projection of confidence would make somebody worry. And then it seems to work, right? Say it's just like, I don't like this at all. I don't like this at all. And when Cedric's response is, nah, it's fine. Now, what's interesting is he's completely right, but I don't think he's right based on any, true intuition. It's just he doesn't really want to think about the game any farther because he actually is wrong. She isn't doing this because she's accepted her fate, is what he's assuming. She is doing it as a ploy, but it's like it's a ploy that like he's immune to because he can't conceive the second layer of what's going on at all.
Was there a question in there?
No, it's just your turn to talk, man. Talk about the Mary Idol fakeness.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was fun. Obviously, it didn't it worked in the sense that it did make Say paranoid, but it didn't work in that they did still vote for her.
Oh, yeah. Both votes went to her, and if there was a third one, it also would have gone to her.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think it does remind us that, one of the most successful idol plays in Survivor history was Rupert putting a rock in his pocket and taking a walk.
Fake idol plays. And I guess similar actions, right? His mark was a hyperactive player. Mary's mark was the same. I just wonder if Mary's ploy would have had greater success if Say had anybody else to talk to in her tribe that had a vote that was also like concerned about any other kind of thinking besides everything's just fine, things are the way that they seem they are.
Yeah, because I think in theory maybe, but again, and they just have so little wiggle room, like due to you mentioned Justin at least showed a desire to play, but he doesn't have his vote and also told a really bad lie about it, which we'll get
Cedrek fell for, by the way, if we're also kind of getting it.
They possibly all did, or just didn't think about it that hard. But he tells that bad lie, so he's like, well, I can't vote, so and also if Cedrek tells him well, Say's thinking about writing your name down, so it's in his best interest to assuage that paranoia, right?
Right. I asked, to your point, if he had a vote, maybe he votes Say then.
Right. That's very
and
possible.
Then Mary's ploy would have worked. Well, it would have been a 1-1-1 tie, and then who knows? But it would have been something.
Right. But instead, they don't do anything. And it very closely it came very close to costing Say the game.
Yes. So, like, and it's, I should point out, when it first happened, I was like, hey, look at that. Faking having an idol is more effective than having a fake idol. Another, feather in my, propaganda cap. You quite rightly pointed out, no, it was just as effective as ineffective. I think it's because, like, I saw it. We see Say, really, like, it's working on Say, and then at the end of the episodes, Mary is still there, but it had nothing to do with her plan. Yes, she did. But again, I think it's because of Cedrek, and in that sense, it kind of worked out. But because I do think Say wanted to do it, but Cedrek was all just no. That I think at the end, Say didn't do it because she didn't want to, like, bother her one ally in Cedrek, like, in a way that, like, he'll be mad at me. For not believing or turning on Justin or whatever. So it's like, I do think, though, at the very least, the idea of faking that you might have an idol might have more chance of success. Like you say, there's the Rupert incident. I feel like last season, where they actually did have a fake idol and it worked, but it was more the way that Genevieve was acting really sold the fact that they had one. And the reason why is when you have an idol, you don't want anybody to think you have an idol, so you don't act like it. When you have a fake idol, you want everybody to know you have it. And that's the problem, right? So, like, it becomes just, well, they showed you it, well, then it's fake. So, like, that's why I think it worked. But then again, maybe it only kind of worked. And again, I should note, did not actually work. But it was because Say is such a panicky, hyperactive player. So maybe in the end, none of this is anything. But it was entertaining, though. So the thing that really did save Mary was the shot in the dark. Second time only where it actually saves somebody. What's your take on the shot in the dark in general, not just like this instance?
Yeah, I'm pro shot in the dark. I think it's funny that every time it fails, people complain about, like, how, the shot in the dark is so pointless and blah blah. And it's like, if it worked like 50% of the time, it'd be so overpowered. Like,
people are so bad at statistics and stuff. And, like, I say that as somebody who's, like, aggressively, like, anti-math.
We refuse to acknowledge the Monty Hall problem.
Well, even there, my whole argument was, like, you guys don't truly understand probabilities. Yes, the math suggests it's the higher percentage play, but we have not had enough instances of it for everybody, like, well, it's got to work this time. That's not how probabilities work.
And, like, there are these human beings you can kind of read or whatever.
Yeah, but maybe anyway. That, but more, it's just like, my take on all that, and it'll probably never come up again, is like, make the decision that you're going to live with. Yeah, and if you're somebody who's like, I feel comfortable with probabilities, then sure. I mean, I still think there's a lot of hokum in the Monty Hall problem, but fine. If that's it. But don't be then shocked, like, I can't believe it didn't pay off. It's like, there was 30% chance it wouldn't. That's pretty high.
Yeah, that's still a pretty solid chance.
In this case, there's only a 20% chance it would work. So yes, it's not going to happen more often than not.
Like with Deal or No Deal Island, sometimes, they have a player's board and they still lose, like, because 25% of a chance is still a chance, But anyway, yeah, I'm pro shot in the dark. I think it's a nice little Hail Mary, no pun intended. I think there have been interesting things to do with it, like Rachel last season. I think it is a well-calibrated thing of odds. Like, we've now had it for 8 seasons. It has worked 3 times. It has landed a save 3 times and it has saved someone twice. Like, that's enough that it's still like, ooh, but not like, and it's enough, but it's still low enough that a lot of times when people are strategizing around it, I'm like, maybe just don't worry about it. Especially, like, in this case, like, there were so few other people that it's tricky, but, like, sometimes when they're really worried about it on a big tribe, it's like, they can't vote if they play it, right?
Yeah, people always forget that part. Then it'll bounce on me. It's like, only if we re-vote to you, which, right, I mean, maybe we're going to, but then I'm not going to be sympathetic with your argument.
Yeah, so I think that's funny. But, like, it does make, I think, especially some of these early challenges where someone really doesn't have much room to play. Like, all right, they get to, throw something at the wall. Not a dice, God forbid, but not a die. But yeah, no, I support.
Yeah,
it.
no, I'm a big fan. I think it's a great addition. For some of the reasons you discussed, and then in terms of calibration, it's also there's risk involved, right? You have to surrender your vote, which I'm fine with. I think the show is bad for taking away votes more often, but surrendering your vote, that's good.
Right, because this is a real, like, you're really taking you're weighing your odds of, like, is this 1 in a 6 shot better than playing a vote? Like, Mary last week, didn't play it because she thought, and obviously didn't need to, but, like, because she thought, okay, Kevin and Justin were voting out Say.
In general, that'd be right. Last week she didn't play because she didn't have a vote.
You're right.
It's fine. It's tough, a lot to keep track of. But yes, Mary's gone to tribal council 3 times and been able to vote exactly once.
Voted incorrectly.
Which is what caused her this bitter feud with Say. Is that she wrote that name down once.
Which now she should be like, hey, I only voted for you once. Cedrek voted for you twice.
Yeah, and it's another beautiful twist. Cedrek has voted for every member of his tribe.
Every time the like Cedrek voted for twice, I just hear Abby Maria in my head of like, you'll voted for me Woo voted for me twice. I think I combined her saying it. But yeah, so Say can drop it, if you fuck with me, you're dead any day now.
Right. And then the fact that you can only get one, so it's like a one-time only, so you have to decide, is this it or will I need it later? The fact that it disappears faster than Idols, like, no, this is a good addition, and it helps also balance. It creates just another layer of complexity that's not too complex, but more decision-making, like, and you've said, and I've said in the past, sometimes you got to be like, well, if Shot in the Dark hits, we're fucked. Because there's no other way to work around it that wouldn't put us in more danger than this, low odds play would. And those things are interesting to me. And then it also helps deal with the fact that, you have idols out there, but sometimes, they're in the hands of somebody that's not going to be, like, cause any interest for the show. It's often not for the person who needs it. And then, delightfully, sometimes it's absolutely in the hands of the person who needs it, and they don't know.
And then again.
Yeah. So no, I'm a big fan of Shot in the Dark, and I agree. Anybody who's like, oh, but whatever is not played, like, oh, this is pointless. No, that's the design. Now, one thing I do like is, like, Jeff keeps talking about, like, where the idea is and where, when the calibration, he's like, he name drops. I talked to my friend so-and-so, who is the designer of Exploding Kittens or whatever, and figure out the best probability. And he's like, 1 in 6. It's like, do you know where he came with that idea, Jeff? Die. A die has 6 sides. That's not some genius. Wow, this guy created a board game. He knows everything. The 1 in 6 probability chance has been built into games for thousands of years.
Oh, Probst. But anyway, I think it's the best change in the new era besides the diversity initiative.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? That's a good intro into another change in the new era. So we get, once again, second week in a row, sending 3 people out to a journey where they are forced to play a game in which they might lose their vote or they might win fabulous prizes. You did talk about it last week. I'm guessing there's not a whole lot of room in your... I don't think there's a lot of movement, in your opinion, from last week, but you get to reiterate it. I'll just go that, man, this shit sucks.
Yeah, and I think this one's even worse because, like, okay, I know you had to play last time too, but at least that was using a skill, and this is not. I feel like if you're rolling dice too, like, not only should you have been able to walk away, I think you should have been able to walk away, like, if after your first roll, like, you were in a situation, like, I mean, and hey, it ended up working out for Camilla, but, like, where you have 3 skulls and you're like, ooh, I don't, what, it's not worth it for me. I don't want that. I'm tapping out. Just like in Now, Justin kept saying he's not much of a gambler and then would proceed to mention gambling activities, including his pregame press.
I feel like maybe he was saying not so much anymore.
Yeah. But I say that to say I'm really not a gambler. I don't really at all. Don't know what I'm doing. So this might be out of turn. But I feel like, if you're you get to...
Like blackjack, poker, you get to stay.
Yeah. And you get to fold.
Poker, you get to fold, yes.
Like, you should be able to be like, okay, never mind. Bye.
Now, where the analogy for poker breaks down is you fold instead of increasing the amount of your potential loss. But when you fold, you lose everything you'd already put in. So if in this case, what's at odds is your vote. If you fold, you just lose your vote. Whereas, you
lose your chance to get it.
There you go.
I don't know. It's dumb though. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right that it's the same as last week in that we're just forcing people to potentially lose their vote. That it's the same as last week in that we've lost any of the social element that used to be built into this. But you're also right that it's worse than last week because fucking watching people play Yahtzee is even less interesting than watching them do a slide puzzle. Which, I mean, it wasn't fully a slide puzzle last week, but it was, the concept of sliding pieces around.
Slide-ish.
Yeah, a puzzle involving sliding pieces. Slide-esque. Which should be noted, not that entertaining to even watch people do a slide puzzle, but even less interesting than is watching them play Yahtzee. How does this get off the design stages? And it's just like, I get it, sometimes we got to find something that's all even, but it's like, if you get to the point where it's like, well, what we got to do is, it's got to be Yahtzee, maybe rethink the entire concept. And that, wait, what if though, instead, we just didn't do this journey bullshit? And I'll say, this is after the premiere, I was like, I'm in favor of that journey where, they have to win, their tribe supplies or whatever, because a 2-hour episode needs content. And that was an interesting challenge, right? It was more of an extra challenge than this journey shit. Now, there's just no heat on these, man. I feel like they're just going through the motions because it's now... have they been doing some form of journey since we came back? Since 41?
I think so. At least not always as consistently.
Yes. So I get that you're scraping the bottom of the barrel of the ideas. It's time to walk away to go back to your gambling metaphor. The juice isn't there. Find another way to pepper these people with largely useless extra votes. But sending people away... It's been hacked also. Now they're forcing people. Now it's not even, choose. It's, okay, one of you chooses and pick other people, which they've done a bit. Or last week they had to I can't remember, was it reach into a bag? Or they had to play a game. They whereas in the past they let people choose, and some tribes play a game to figure out. Sometimes just the person, it's got to be me. Now it's okay, well, now we know a lot of people don't want to go on a journey, so we're going to force that. Now we've taught them that often the risking your vote isn't worth it, so people aren't doing it. So now we're going to force that. It's just don't do it. And it's time to think of something else. The juice has been squeezed from the journey. And I support to a degree the fact that they're not making them walk and get to know each other, because that had been played out a bit too much too. I think it's all over. We got to walk away. It's been real. I don't know if it's been fun, but it's over.
Yeah, cosign. 100%.
All right. I don't have a transition for this, so let's just move on. So, I mean, obviously most of this podcast episode, much like most of this episode of Survivor, much like most of the season, has been focused on the Vula tribe. But we did get a little bit else for the other tribe, and a lot of it isn't a whole bunch that we can talk about. It's hey, yeah, man, that was pretty fucking awesome when he just beasted through that part of the challenge. What did interest me is Thomas's switch in perspective from wanting to take out Star to wanting to take out Eva. And this take isn't mine, but it'll lead into the question. I believe I read it on her site. Or maybe it was on Blue Sky or something. But how great is it that it was just Eva's act of shitty, arts and crafts, and is like, oh, she's got to go.
Yeah, I mean, that is funny, although I do get it because it did show that she's very close to Joe, which we know is true. I think it's also just indicative of how much things can change when you don't go to tribal,
yes.
Is that some people just need a chance to get their feet under them. And, that might address something we talk about later. But that, he wasn't even really working, like he sort of was, but it's like he wants their fourth to be Bianca anyway, And he's like, okay, so working with these three guys, but maybe not. Like, I think looking out for your options and seeing if stuff changes is totally fine.
Yeah, I'm really in favor of Thomas. I don't think he's going to do well because we already see like Shaheen like clocking that like, wow, this guy's cutthroat. But I just love that. It's like, girl, you just took that off of your water bottle. Like, that's fantastic. And then, yes, I agreed wholeheartedly that it's like, yes, he's recognized as like, well, that's not a thing I'm going to want to deal with. And I suppose the other reason why I like it is what I stated in the first episode. Like, Eva is incredibly boring to me. So it's like, yes.
Yeah, and like at least, or not at least, sorry. I'd say, so Mary, made some big strides this episode, but otherwise I think Thomas is easily the most fun in confessionals.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those...
Yeah, those might be the top two, though.
Oh, yeah, and Mary, I don't think...
Camila, maybe, is also, sorry.
That's true, I do like her. And those are just the people I tend to gravitate towards. In general, we all know how I feel about Courtney Yates. But, yeah, so He's devious and he's funny. That's it. But also, it doesn't seem to be like mean,
Mm-hmm.
At least so far. And ouch, that pole poking him in the challenge last week must have hurt.
Yeah,
He's got a big old mark right now. But yeah, I mean, I think it did strike me as funny when the three of when Bianca and Star, when they were like, us three are on the bottom. Those three are on the top.
It's like,
What?
That's half of the tribe, man.
Yeah. Although I then remembered that Star didn't have a vote at that time, although they've got to think they're going to all get that back. But now Bianca does it, so I'm like, well, now they really are. Now, if it weren't for, now with the swap, it doesn't matter. But I was like, if they did go to tribal in that configuration, I don't think Thomas is getting Eva out in that case. But yeah, I like how, Bianca did tell him about losing her vote, and he's like, yeah, I'm still not going to tell her that I got the vote steal. It's like, but acknowledge, she's like, does feel a little harder than I thought it would be. But, like, no, I promised I'm not going to tell anybody unless I, like, really, until it's really necessary. So I'm not. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah,
no, that was a Bravo moment because it would have been so easy. I was expecting it, frankly. Because, oh, yeah, me too. Especially because it's like, well, that person just went, so they know the whole not getting to do the challenge is not really an option. But they don't know that it was for you.
Yeah, it's so funny that she had the much better lie than Justin did. But it's funny because her lie fed off of Thomas's previous lie, but she did not seem to clock that is what had happened.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for Thomas to be able to get to play because, between last week, hey, let's just throw the clue out. Like I think he's going to try and do some stuff that should be entertaining one way or another. So I'm hoping he gets swapped to not a Kumbaya challenge dominant tribe. And not on the breakdown, but like what a fucking shit job the show did to set these tribes up, right?
Yeah, I don't know what they were like. Obviously, it's bad luck that Kevin injured himself, but like, what were they thinking?
Yeah, like he's not the third most physically fit male on this show. That's probably Shaheen or maybe Mitch, maybe Kyle. Like I don't know that Kevin's in the top 5.
Right, and like you could at least. Like, Loggy especially, it's like, okay, if Bianca's good at puzzles, Eva and Star are both quite strong.
Like Div 1 athletes, aren't they? Or something like that. I guess I have to look it up. But
swap Star and Say, at least. Like, even it up that way then with the women. You don't have to just be like, oh, these are the strong guys. That is the only way that there is tribe strength. But, like, yeah, like... what? Like, what?
And then obviously it's only compounded because then they don't have their supplies or anything like that. But and then it's like, oh, there's different ways of tribe strength, but like nobody on Vula is coming across as particularly bright.
Like,
you
at
know,
least
and like and you could like close your eyes, like maybe Justin's like the kind of rangy athlete that actually does really well on that show. But no indication, right? So what the hell? And then it's like, well, it'll be fun. It'll be a disaster. They're fucking boring, though.
And Cedrek is the oldest man out there, and the second oldest is Joe, who is one of the strongest guys. Like, that is not an even spread. And it's like, okay, so Siva has the oldest woman. It's like, well, Chrissy is a boss. Like, she's also a firefighter.
Yes.
I don't know what they... Because at least, like, in 46 with Yanu, I think they were genuinely surprised, you know? And I think that's fair. I bet you look at the tribe with Q and Tiffany and, like, Jelinski, who is at least tall and not as scrawny as Justin, and you're like, they'll win a challenge. And to be fair, technically they did eventually. But, like, you know, Mbanu, well... being extremely annoying, was in good shape. Like,
yeah, and like useful, potentially useful around camp. Like, yeah,
Jess was apparently like a rugby player. You know, it just obviously did not come through. Like, they on paper, you can understand that one. It just didn't happen on paper. This did not make sense.
No, nothing about it. Like, just look at the pictures. Is it that they're the only ones with green clothes? Like, I just don't understand.
You know, they just didn't tell them what to bring, and just like, we're like, oh, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, man, it's just like, okay. I'm glad there's a swap then, because it's enough. All right, any other shots about this episode in particular? Anybody else you had takes on you need to get out?
I mean, we didn't really mention Siva at all.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so unless you have thoughts about David's personal life.
No, not really.
We'll leave that.
Yeah, there'll be time, probably. So, yeah, I think that's good for this episode. We're just going to get quickly into a little bit of fan mail, and then we'll do our top three. So, this one came in, and I'll say this person's actually sent a few different messages about, like, potential, like, themes for all returning seasons. We're going to do this one, but then I don't know if we're going to answer them all the time. Unless it's a slow week, in which case keep sending them in. I know this isn't an idea for season 50. Accurate. All we want out of season 50 is give us the best characters you can. And because of all the information we already have. But do you think a season of all first boots is a good idea? And one thought I had when we get this is, it's actually a nice thing that we get from the fan mails, because if you're a longtime listener of the show, I believe you'll probably already know where my take is going. But we do get a lot of new listeners all the time that maybe don't know the baseline of us. And then it's also kind of fun that we're doing this with you, because I feel like I can very confidently speak for John as well as myself. Maybe you have a different take. I'll let you give it in a second, but I'll just share mine. No, man, I have zero interest in a first boot. I think it's a bad idea, and like comfortably, I know the show will never do it, so that's good. And I have more to say, but what about you? Do you think it's a good idea at all?
I mean, I know that's where you guys did. I think it is a less bad idea than it was the last time this was addressed, just because we've had more seasons, so there's more people to choose from. I think, kind of like I was saying, is Star, because that tribe hasn't gone to tribal, like suddenly seems to be in a better position. When if they'd gone tribal first, she might have been the first boot. I think the new era especially has some more people like that, and some of the more recent seasons. I think it would still be difficult to guess. I think what would maybe work better is, I think this is maybe the one way you could do, like, not fans versus fans, but like returning players versus newbies type season, in a way that could potentially be more interesting than a full first boots. Because then you can really get the people who actually seemed like they had potential, or whether as characters or as players, and be like, that's a much more even playing field than than a fans versus favorites, blood versus what, any of the other 50-50 seasons have been. Plus, it would force them to do 2 tribes. But
I actually think there's a decent chance that 50 will be 2 tribes to start anyway, just so
they
you can get
20
players.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that is potentially possible. But I wasn't speaking of 50, obviously, but just kind of in general. And it's funny, remember when 3 tribes was fresh and exciting? That's the thing with the new era. While they have made some changes, that's true. It seems like somehow they've played almost as well, like without really adding.
The game's been more static over the past 8 years than I think any other 8 seasons.
Yeah,
and I think it's because they changed so much that they wanted to just kind of let it settle and see what works or whatever. And yes, there's been modifications. There's been dropping. I think it's also why we did not get any returnee seasons until 10. It's like, well, let's see what this is before we kind of. And I think Jeff was like enjoying it. Like in general, you don't want a returnee season to be like the theme, the standards for it to be that rigid. That it's like, nope, first boot only. Like, it was always like when people used to do this, it's like, well, who's the first boot to plow? Are we talking about the people that weren't actually booted but kind of were, or is it the first person voted out?
Right, or like even...
is it somebody who was voted out or somebody who was medically evacuated? It's other seasons.
Or was it... I think there's other seasons too where this happened. Or maybe not. But like 41, and I don't know why they don't do this more instead of having the double tribals and the post merge. But where I believe in 41, both losing like only one tribe won immunity. Both losing tribes went to tribal council. So it's like, just because one tribe went first, like, is that the first boot, or are they both first boots? You could also do like first boot from a tribe in general. But I take your
like the only time that it's really worked when like the casting has been that narrow, has to meet like a very, very specific criteria, is winners when your choices are like great. And that's interesting. Like, say you do it first boot, well then suddenly you're giving like a lot of power to like first boot players. It's like, hey man, I know you only have but so many, so what are you gonna give for me? And you say, well now they have more, right? They have like 48, but they don't even have 48, right? Because if we're not counting like returnee first boots.
It's like, do you get to have Tina? Do you get to have Vita?
Yeah, and I say no, absolutely not. That would be against the spirit of it. And frankly, if I'm those people, I mean, maybe for Vitas, it's like, I just want to come back, so sure. But it'd be kind of insulting. It's like Tina, I fucking won this show. What are we doing here? And then you guys didn't bring me back for that. But now you're going to bring me back for this? Fuck you.
That would be really fun.
Yeah. So that's a reason that, again, you don't want to be that narrow. You want to give yourself optionality. But also, like, man, the reason you do a returnee season is to get people excited. It's a marketing thing, right? This ain't going to do it. Okay, and this is like, it's just an ultra super fan take, and it's just part of. And I'm sorry, I don't mean any shade to the person who asked this. You are by no means the only person who's talked about it. And at least you're asking, not like, I think it'll be great. Casuals don't know who the fuck these people are. Okay, I podcast about it every season. And I don't know that I could, like, if you showed me the list, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I remember that person was the first boot of a season, right? Like, I don't know if I'll even remember particularly things about all of them. But like my wife, this is how I know more about like the way a casual thinks. Because I watch the show with one, right? You do too now, right?
Yep.
Mine has seen every season except for like one. Like, she watched it as it aired, just like I did, from Africa on, next to me. South Pacific, she skipped out on because at that point we had 2 small children. And we just found that, like, we weren't getting to episodes of anything with a good value. And it's like this real... I was watching it while, like, she was sleeping or something. And I'm like, this one isn't the one.
You don't need to go.
The season's not good. It's not worth catching up on. Because I think she probably watched the first part of it. Like, let's watch Lost instead or whatever was on at that time. But yeah, so she listens to a Survivor podcast every week. Like, this is like an involved casual.
Her husband, so.
Exactly, but still, she would still, like, there's a good chance that she would know 0 out of 20 of these first boots. Okay, maybe 3. Okay, There's just no value in it, right? There's not, people have no built-in attachment. You're just better off going with newbies.
That is why I kind of think, like, if you were going to do it, a half and half would work better, because then you're marketing the idea almost more. And it's like, okay, these people are proven to be bad at Survivor, but, like, so can they, bounce back against these people who haven't, played before? Like, yada. Obviously, this is not the marketing campaign, but you know what I mean.
Something,
like,
yeah.
There's a spin you could like do that would maybe entice people even if they don't remember those people. You play clips of them during the commercials.
How many clips are you gonna have, right?
Well, there's always there's stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't think it's something like, I'm not like desperate for it or anything.
Yeah.
But I think if you were going to do it, I think that's a way to do it, because I also think like while there are a couple of first boots who would potentially be fun, I think they're in just I think getting called back is so unlikely, in another context. And so okay, it happened with Franny, but Franny was someone we saw for more days. That's why maybe if it was ever going to happen, it would, or another one would get called out, it would be Reem. Some you saw more than just one episode of.
Right.
But
yeah, another reason is first boots are often first boots for a reason, right? These just are not going to be. You don't want to build the whole ship out of first boots, right? Maybe there's a couple that are dynamic and they just didn't, bad luck or whatever. But when you try to run a challenge with 18 first boots, right? A lot of times people are booted because they're bad at the physical aspect of Survivor, right? That's the most common reason, not the only reason, not the always reason. And frankly, when it's not that, it's usually these are personality defective people. Again, I don't know if I want a season of these people. And so it'd be hard to get the good balance of character types. And then I haven't done the math out on this, but an unfortunate trend is this is often women, so it might be tough to get 10 worthwhile dudes. So
that's
yeah,
why you do it where you only need 5.
yeah. But also and then this is the other reason not to do it. Another reason why at this point, and I know it's a fun game for fans. I used to do it all the time too, mental exercises and all that. I do mental exercises for other things, right? On this show, right? This show being this podcast, top 3, opening verses in hip hop. Hyper specificity is just kind of a fun way sometimes to arrange thoughts. We've gone 5 seasons without any kind of returnee season. And we're going to waste it on these people? I know, man. We got actual stars that haven't been back on this show. That's who we should be focusing on. And if maybe this was the earlier era when it felt like every other year there was a returnee season, which we could get back to. I don't think now it's no, only every 10 seasons. Frankly, they've only done it on the zeros 3 out of 5 times. It's not set in stone. I just feel like the show had kind of wanted some equilibrium and enjoyed all the new people they've been getting. Yeah, man, get stars. And if you ever want this, at the, where this comes from also is just a genuine empathetic place of sympathy. Pre-merge boots, not first boots, right? So yeah, you want losers to get a second chance. And there you could actually probably put together a nice little season. And then the last thing I'll say about this is every time the show has kind of brought people back, not every time, almost every time the show has brought people back because they felt bad for the way that their previous season went, it's not paid off, right? The only real instance I could think of is Jonathan Penner, and he's a special case. He'd already come back for because they thought he was entertaining, and then he got hurt, and then they brought him back. But otherwise, it's the other 2 people they brought back that season, not really worth bringing back. One really not worth bringing back. Caleb almost dies. They bring him back. Contributes nothing. Bruce, they bring him back because they feel bad. Contributes nothing. Sympathy is a bad reason to bring somebody back for Survivor. Bring them back because they think they're awesome. That's the only reason why you got to bring them back. Any other thoughts?
Oh my God. If I did, they left my brain. As someone who also talks a lot, I sometimes think the whole Andy rants are a little overblown, but Jesus Christ, that went on a really long time.
Fair.
5 actual human minutes.
That's good. That's a good take.
Insane. Please, dear God, can we move on?
Well, I'm hoping that nobody ever asks that again. And in fact, I'm also kind of hoping that this ends every fan discussion.
Can we move on?
No. This is all we're going to be at. This is where you live now. This is what your life is. All right, moving on. So we've been doing this thing, another thing we've driven into the ground. So top 3 concept. Worked really well in one season, and now we just stretch it anywhere. This week, honestly, I expected to do this later in the season, to have pizza discussions. But we had to do it this week. And, normally I would be loath to have a food discussion with you, but we're doing it. So, the obvious pizza top 3 would be toppings, but I don't want to do the obvious. So instead, and then this kind of bore out from a bit of a comment discussion week 1 when a guy on our TV screen did nothing but wear a shirt that said pizza on it, was different regional styles of pizza. And I'm somebody who, I'm a big fan of pizza. I ate pizza for dinner tonight. One way you can eat a lot of different kinds of pizza is if you, have different styles. If you're eating the same style, same toppings every week, then you could probably get sick of it. But if you switch it up, it's like 2 different meals. What, do you, truly enjoy different kinds, or do you have, one kind that, that's your go-to?
No, I don't put a lot of thought into it. I will say, for a little inside baseball, and perhaps also some new listeners, especially if they're new listeners who don't go on the site, might not know, I generally am just not into food. I'm also a very picky eater, and I'm a vegetarian. So that's the context for that, to the point that to prepare for this podcast, Andy messaged me, top 3 types of pizza. Can you do that? It's I can make it. He says, wasn't sure if you ate different kinds of pizza. I did some research. I will say, in the discussion of pizza shirt, I learned that Greek-style pizza is a thing. I didn't know that. So, there you go. In my research, I find a lot of these. I was I wouldn't have known that was a different kind.
Yeah, and I think some of the research is people like to pretend, oh, nobody has pizza like they do in my region. It's man, there's barely any difference between that and there. But there is some dramatic differences.
Yeah, so I tried to pick. I did pick ones that I felt have distinct enough.
Yeah.
So.
And there's some people who'd be this style of pizza is the only kind of pizza, and people get really weird about pizza. Same with toppings, right? Oh, if you're doing that, you're doing it wrong. It's pizza is just really adaptive, and if you're limiting yourself, you're only hurting yourself. The idea of sauce toppings, cheese on some kind of bready product is in a handheld format. That's just. Let's play. Let's dance around. Let's see what's out there. Life is too short to limit yourself. So, I'm gonna start with just an honorable mention. Is that for my honorable mention, non-pizza pizza flavored foods. So pizza subs. I make a hot dog, a pizza dog. Put some sauce, cheese, bacon on there. On top of a hot dog, great stuff. Pizza crackers is a snack that I used to enjoy as a kid. Just a little sauce and cheese, just the putting sauce, cheese, and something else on another food often works.
So a fun thing about me is that I don't like tomato sauce.
Of course.
But I can usually tolerate it with pizza. If I have a choice, we'll get into it, but I prefer a white sauce, pesto, not tomato sauce. However, so when you were saying that pizza flavored foods, I was oh, I don't really like that,
Yeah.
Because I don't like
this right now is the first time since yesterday that I regret that Justin was voted out. Because just the absolute worst person to be having this conversation. The only way it's worse, and I do this a lot too, is when I say to John, "Can you do a movie top 3?" And it's yeah, maybe I don't even want to do this.
I was in the middle. I was going somewhere with this. Jesus.
Continue.
You're so annoying. Anyway, now it's not even gonna hit. As you say, oh yeah, I don't really like pizza flavored things because I don't like tomato sauce, and obviously I don't eat pepperoni. But you were naming all the different things, and I was you know what? I do fuck with a bagel bite though. Those are good.
Yeah, I make pizza bagels too. See, it's just pizza something.
The little bites. It's fun. That's all.
What's your number 3? Or do you have an honorable mention?
I don't have an honorable mention. I did my best. My number 3 has a question mark next to it, which was New York. I guess, like, that's just a pizza to me. That's pizza. Pizza's fine. I like pizza. Pizza. New York. And I looked at, and I was like, the most other, like, normal pizza I could think of when I looked up was the Neapolitan. And you know what? I don't think I like that much. I don't like the crust to be that thin, and I don't like when the end of the crust is that puffy. I'd rather it be more like a breadstick.
Yeah, so New York style is my number 3. We don't have a lot of options for it around here, although the fast food places have started to do it a bit more, which, but yeah, often, like, people, when they talk about great pizza, are talking about, like, gourmet type stuff. Sometimes you just want a slice of pizza that is just, like, greasy to the point where they serve it to you on a paper plate, and eventually that plate becomes translucent. And then you fold it over to eat. Like, it's great. And yeah, I find New York type people are the ones who are like, that's the only style of pizza that matters. Get off yourself, New York. You're missing some good parts of
That is
life.
a very New York way of being.
What's your number 2 then? So obviously it's not Neapolitana.
Neapolitan?
No, Neapolitan is an ice cream.
I think it's both.
No.
And it's just from Naples, right? No?
No, you're incorrect.
Okay. You know I don't know about food. So this is interesting because you said, like, not toppings, but you also listed the 3 different example options. And I researched, and one of your example options seems to be mostly about the toppings. But I picked it anyway. And that is California style. Because I'm from here, and also because I don't really like the traditional toppings. I didn't even like pepperoni when I did eat meat. And California's, like, my perfect world, like, if I'm at a place where you're doing, like, build your own pizza, I'm getting a white sauce, spinach, artichokes, and garlic. That feels like California to me. You know, we grow spinach here, garlic, Gilroy, artichokes, Castroville, Central Coast, yee. CPK is what started all that, I guess. And they used to have 2 pizzas there that I really liked, and they got rid of them, and that's mean.
Yeah, and I think the other part of California is tends to be a bit of a thinner crust. But yeah,
Sure.
it's often not like, yeah. And I think that's the innovation that California did bring, that is, like, non-traditional toppings, more vegetables and stuff. Like, you know a California pizza when you see it. Some people would consider it to be an abomination, but those, no, man, live it up.
Yeah, like, in Inside Out.
Inside Out, yeah.
When there's the broccoli, and I was like, I have had broccoli pizza. It was at a vegan restaurant, though. So I feel like that's even, like, more part of it, you know? But it's pretty good. And that vegan place also closed. Everyone's taking away the food I like. A sandwich place I like, they took away the vegetarian sandwich I liked there. I like so little, and they keep taking away my options, Andy. It's not nice. It's not nice. What's
Yeah,
your-
the only person I like talking about food less than John is this guy. Yeah, but in comments, if people actually enjoy food, give us your thoughts. My number 2 is the Napolitana style pizza, and again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct, but I at least am getting all the vowels out, or all the consonant, all the parts of
Letters?
the word. Yeah, that's the word. The things that are both vowels and consonants. Yep, letters. We actually have a place near us that we go to a lot that is ranked in the top 100 pizza places in the world, because they use, like, wood fire ovens and the Napolitana style. I don't really get a lot really crazy often. Just go with the margarita. It works. It hits. Yeah. And what's nice is because it's thin, you could, like, eat so much more of it, which I guess isn't nice for you at all.
No, I mean, like, we have a place that has it too, which is why I thought I knew how to say it. But you know what? When we go there, I usually get a salad. But they have a pizza. I'm looking it up now as if that's, like, important. But is it the pizza not on their lunch? Oh, there it is. Yeah, margarita pizza. I kind of at just because that tends to be like the default option of something that's vegetarian, but it's also very tomato forward. So it's like I'll eat it, but it doesn't bring me joy. Oh, sorry. I was mad because I looked at. Oh, okay. See, there we go. Two things. The pizza type. So I'm on this website, this menu page, right? And it says original Neapolitan pizza.
There you go.
But it also says Associazione Verace Pizza Napolitana. So maybe it's just Neapolitan is the English translation,
or the Americanized version. It might not even be English.
The Americanized version, and that in Canada, with your top 100 place, they use the real Italian. Anyway, the pizza I like there, kind of lending itself, well, it's both Neapolitan, but also probably a little California. It's got fresh mozzarella, dried figs, goat cheese, arugula, truffle, honey.
I like honey on a pizza. That's always nice.
Right? Like,
I mean, not always. Obviously, it depends on what it's, combining with, but...
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just trying to contribute and show that there's food that I eat.
When we do top 3 fries, I would never do that unless you were here. Styles of fries.
You.
And I know the rankings is kind of mostly go, what's the least potato-y?
Yeah, the bottom steak fries.
Yes, just like the pizza one is like, the pizzas that taste least like pizzas are the ones I enjoy the most. What's your number 1?
Wait, did you say your number 2?
Yeah, Napolitana.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I let myself get all out of the source.
I actually think I nailed the pronunciation on that one.
Yeah,
let's move on.
I also got thrown off because Matt made us go snake style, so that's what I anticipated. I picked number 1, and I wrote this down in my notes as a Detroit style because I like bread and the cheesy edges.
But isn't that like a lot of tomato sauce?
Well, put a pin in that.
Okay. No, I won't be talking about it further, so we can talk about it now.
In theory, if you get one with tomato sauce. I said, but there's a local place that has one with pesto, 3 cheeses, and a lemon zest, and it's delicious. And now I'm kind of craving it because they also have a 7-inch panzuki, which is a cookie made in a pan that is 7 inches wide.
All right, fair, I guess. For me, the key differentiator to Detroit style pizza is the amount of sauce that they put it on top of the cheese. That's what makes it different than, say, Chicago deep dish, I believe.
See, so you just got to get it where the sauce is pesto.
That's right. So you get Detroit style pizza that's not Detroit style.
Detroit, California.
That's right. I should note, I do not like Detroit or Chicago for those reasons, although, Brad could jump in here. It's like I've never had real Chicago style fare.
When I went to Chicago, I had tortellini. I didn't want it. Because, if they had an option that's like, here's a different sauce, I would do it. So, you know what? That's fair. So it probably really isn't because I don't like tomato sauce, but I like that one at that place.
Fair enough. So more like a deep dish, but with your changes to it. Because what you're responding to is kind of...
But it's I don't know, it's like pretty bread heavy, like it's pretty crust heavy, like it's thick. It's like a thick crust.
Yeah. And that's kind of, what the Chicago and Detroit's do.
Yeah, and it's got like the edge, it's not like the, what.
And it's a square? I can't remember. Yeah, they do squares.
Yeah, it's square. And Chicago, I think it's more like a pie.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more like
almost like a pizza casserole.
Yeah, and then the Detroit, I think it's almost more like a loaf.
Yeah. So my number 1 is the one that you hadn't heard of until recently, and that's Greek style, which I honestly, until I looked at that list, I did not realize that you guys referred to it, or you don't refer to it as anything.
That might be an
Well, it was referred to as a New England Greek style. I wonder if if it originated around here more, because we obviously aren't calling it New England Greek style all the way in Western Canada. But yeah, for those of you who haven't had Greek, and I don't know if you have access to it, it gives you like a thicker crust, but by no means like a thick crust. Like they do a medium pan, but there's more crust. The sauce, tomato, it's going to be tomato sauce, so it's already out for you. But like more of oregano based, so it's got a little spice.
Like a regular cheese pizza. It's just
and then like a real, and this is what I had for dinner tonight. I'm gonna have a Napoletana on the weekend for my son's birthday. That's what he wants for his party. But like a really healthy like layer of like thick cheese on top. You think I wouldn't like it as much because one time I went out for this, and the reason why I like it probably the most is it was the pizza place like just around the corner from my house. So it's probably what we got most when I was a kid. Although when I was a kid, I didn't like it as much because it was a little too thick, right? Kids like shitty thin like cardboard type pizzas that you get from like Chuck E. Cheese or Little Caesars or something. Although my kids have learned to like this style. But also, you think I wouldn't like it now because one night when I went out after a baseball game, we go there, take everybody, have a great time, and then I just searing intense pain in my side. It's because I had a gallbladder attack.
no.
Yeah, like this pizza I didn't have it that often that this was the only reason, but it is certainly what caused that crisis at that moment.
Oh,
because fatty foods can really it was a stone, right? A stone was there, but no longer an issue though. I can eat it as freely as I want because that son of a bitch is gone.
I'm learning that I don't know enough about the gallbladder.
To be fair, didn't know it at all when before it was a problem. Like, is this the useless one, like the appendix or something?
Yeah.
It wasn't an appendix. It was a gallbladder. Stones were blocking the pipe, and it hurt, and all this, and then they cut it out. And for that, all that time and surgery, I had to pay for parking, and that's it.
I was going to say how I do think it's like criminal that hospitals charge for parking.
I do think that as well.
But it does help that they're not charging for other places. I remember like a doctor I used to go to was just a regular doctor, but the building had like cancer patient like stuff. And the parking was $2 for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like, obviously, here, it's the only thing you pay for. But it's still, it's criminal. Like, nobody's just going to a hospital to hang out. Like, again, if you're like a downtown hospital, if you're near something where people would steal your parking, okay, I get it.
Right.
Although then you should be able to, it's
know.
validation, exactly. But otherwise, it's like, people are here because they have to be here. And again, your country would be like, you got to pay every aspect of it. Just, poor people should die. My country, it's like, this is a right. And then they still get away with that. I do believe if you turned out that you don't quite need it, sometimes you pay for an ambulance. But that's like $50 or something. And insurance, like worker insurance, would cover that. All right, so that's our top threes. If anybody has opinions, definitely share them.
Can I ask a pizza question?
Yes. Please.
This is a genuine question, so you can laugh at me a little bit, but I am actually wondering. So, like, all the different types of pizza, right?
Yeah.
And, like, and don't just say, like, shitty, like, I actually don't know. When you go to, like, a Domino's, Little Caesars, whatever, those kind of pizza places, what type of pizza is that then?
I don't know. Yeah, I would say, like, fast food, like, chain.
So
But I honestly don't know what style it is. Because, like, often what I'm looking for is, like, that, but just better, right? Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably just like American, but if somebody has a pan pizza is what like Pizza Hut talks, and that's the other thing. These people, like these places, often try to like change their styles as well. Like so when like they're offering like a New Yorker, or sometimes they like Chicago deep dish, but like nowhere near.
Because I do admittedly have a soft spot for Domino's out of all of the chains because when I was in college they took our meal plan money.
Yeah, Domino's was my place of choice when I was in university. Now I've gone back to it and it's like, man, this I don't know which chain I think is least bad because they're all kind of
You know what, the marble cookie brownie that they have?
Often when we're just going for cheap and shitty fast food ones, it's by who's giving the best dessert or something.
They also used to have these like mac and cheese bread bowls that again in
I
college.
think Domino's has some. I mean, again, and my Domino's would be different than yours.
Oh,
but,
that's true. Because they had it, then it went away, but now they kind of have other stuff again. I don't know.
but they have some kind of mac and cheese bite. I believe it's them.
Yeah, that's probably true. They have a weird cheesy tot situation that I found rather disappointing.
Yeah, and I like cheese like breads, like pizza bread type things.
Cheesy bread.
Yeah.
I used to sometimes that would be what I would get.
Right, and then you don't have to
regular
deal with the
pizza,
sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, and then for my Canadians, Boston style pizza is actually not a thing. We have a chain here called Boston Pizza. Has nothing to do with the city of Boston. It's a purely Canadian chain. I think the family's name was Boston.
Can I share another thing?
Yes.
So when, as you know, but the listeners wouldn't necessarily know, my husband and I went to Ireland last fall, and we actually went to a place that was like in Ireland. That was a pizza place that it's like the number one pizza in Ireland, and apparently like in the top 100 in Europe, not the world, but Europe, which that's where Italy is.
Yeah,
so that seems pretty good, and it was good.
And Greece.
Yes, but they also had a chain that we saw everywhere called Apache Pizza. And I thought, surely this is just an unfortunate coincidence, and that just also means something else, whether in Italian or Irish, or something. But no, we looked it up, and they named it after the Apache because they're like, we want to showcase that it's American-style pizza. And we're like, oh, buddy, do we have something to tell you about the relationship between America and the indigenous population?
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody else, you got styles and all that. Rep your style. And then real quick, toppings. We're not doing it, but I might have just put pineapples at number 1 to troll people. And also because they're great, and you should not be so short-minded. It's a little sad that Justin won't be there for Survivor Pizza Reward, though.
Yeah, I don't mind pineapple on a pizza. It's just usually it's paired with meat, so.
Right. Yeah, and I'll say bacon is usually better than ham on a pizza for those that are into that sort of thing.
Bacon or Canadian bacon?
Bacon, but not strips. It has to be like bacon bit type thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because how would you bite it?
And sometimes places do, they just throw and then they don't bite,
lazy.
and they just break in those places suck. All right, I did have it on here to talk briefly about Traitors, because you and I both watch it, and a lot of our viewers have, but, do you still want to do that?
I mean, did you watch the finale?
I have seen it all.
Yeah.
So real quick, if we're going to do this, that's what we're talking about now. Survivor talk is over, so if you're not interested, leave. And also spoilers for both this season of Traitors and probably the previous 2.
Yeah, do you mean the whole thing or just the finale?
Just in general. What did you think of this season?
I mean, it was entertaining, which I think is what the Traitors is designed to be more so than good gameplay. I will say, though, I think Dylan played one of the stronger faithful games we've really seen. How much was on purpose, it's hard to say.
Yeah, that's what's tough, yeah.
Because they don't show us, I think he knew Boston Rob was a traitor.
Or at the very least that it was a high possibility. And everything he talks about suggests that it's possible, but he also isn't breaking kayfabe.
Right. And I think we know at least he was suspecting both Carolyn and Danielle, so I don't know if it just was coincidental that he became close to most of the Traitors and thus was able to figure them out because he spent more time with them or what, but it worked out really well. And you know what, even then, even early on, he clocked Bob the drag queen before Rob sold him out, so he had good instincts. And
he also comes across he's a fan of reality TV, so I feel he called out that when they're about to do the seer advantage because he's really watched the international seasons.
He figured that out. Well, no, I think he hadn't knew the seer because I believe the seer twist had only happened in the UK, the most recent UK season, which filmed at basically the same time.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's a twist that exists in Mafia Werewolf.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Okay. Fair. Yeah.
And he definitely we know he watched Survivor.
Yeah. We
like,
know he
definitely-
watched Deal or No Deal Island.
Yes, which is so funny. He definitely knows more about these shows than like any of the Bravo celebrities, you know?
Yeah, frankly, more than some of like the gamer ones too, right? So yeah, like because I don't get the impression that a lot of them even watch this show, or maybe they did
Right.
to like crash course. Yeah, like he seems familiar with the meta and stuff. And I should note, like for those that don't know, I've only watched the U.S. version of this show, which is like obviously totally on brand. It's less this for all the same reasons that why I only do the same thing for Survivor. I do it because the only thing that's really drawing to me to the show is former survivors I'm interested in and Ellen Cumming, both of which are only featured in the U.S. version of the show, right?
Yep, fair enough.
And I do think like I don't know, and I don't know how much things that work in the all newbie international versions of the show really play in this, recruited Bravo celeb, like reality lifer version of the show. Like there's a different level to the meta to this show that I just don't know how, like, people are like, that happened on the UK version. It's like, well, that's nice, but that was a bunch of like, stranger nobodies. Which to all I say is like I don't know how much strategy matters at all in this show, and I shared this take with you. You corrected it one way. It's like I don't know if you can actually play that well on the show, but you can play poorly. But just so much of it seems random. So it's like, yeah, Dylan either played really well, it seemed like possibly, or much like Ivor and Dolores.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like he played well. I think Gabby started off maybe but like played better towards the end. And yet they get the same. They won just as much as Dolores and Ivar. And actually, in fairness to Ivar, I think he played okay. Like he
voted out all 5 traitors.
He's just boring.
Yes.
And that's a big part of why people care about the show. So it's disappointing. But Dolores, like, she didn't know. They should have MJ'd her. But I understand why it ended the way it did based on how everything went. So, and none of them are really hurting for cash. I mean, I don't know how much Zach funds his brother's lifestyle, and it's not like Gabby.
He's a producer on the show, right?
Yeah, so he probably, does okay.
I mean, I've never heard of the show, so until this thing, so I don't know
I have a
actually that
friend
brings
who
in.
watches it. It's funny. My friend is like a little younger than me, and so she was more in the like High School Musical like trajectory than I was. And so like the Dylan Efron and like Boston Rob stuff, she's like, I have spent the majority of my life standing an Efron and Boston Rob. Like this means so much. So that's that was fun. And it's kind of fun too because as you know, like I don't traditionally watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. But I happened to see Gabby's season of The Bachelorette because I knew someone who competed on it. And so that was I was like, oh, I actually know this person in Bachelor Nation. Like, that's fun. And then she turns out to be, like, the breakout star, which I knew she was funny from The Bachelorette, so that makes sense. But it is funny where she probably needs the money the most out of the 4, but now I think she's going to probably get some pretty good opportunities. So,
in general, what I liked about this season is a thing that I got the impression a lot of fans didn't like is, the traitors, just killing each other. It led to, like, sloppy play. But again, I don't know if good play is possible in the show. I think watching the show, caring about the game is kind of beside the point. This is a game that will just throw people in the middle of it, right? And like even worse than the 3 Cage Boys this season. Kate joined 5 episodes into last season,
crazy.
and then
I think. Oh, sorry.
Well, and then became a traitor like right near the end. Like it's a silly game.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem with this season is purely like self-interested. Is that the survivors didn't, even though most of the Survivor players didn't make it very far. Like, I wanted to see Jeremy and Tony.
Yeah, and like that's like for the 3 seasons I've watched, my interest has always just been tied to like the Survivor players, and generally like specific ones. Like I didn't care about Stephanie, for instance.
Right. That's why like season 1 might not be the best in terms of entertainment, but God, is it the most satisfying season of television I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that, and yes, she's playing with a bunch of dummies, yet still wins. And then you understand why, like, I had a good time watching Redemption Island. Like, everybody else was out on it. It's like, okay, that's fine, but my team won, so I don't care. Like, again, I can objectively say that it wasn't a good season of Survivor, but it was sure a hell of a lot of fun for me. Same deal. Like, you finally get to see Suri win something. That was fun. Yeah, and I watched season 1 like months after the fact, semi-spoiled, in that like people seemed very excited about what happened for Suri. I didn't know that she won for sure, but then that combined with watching, like, I think I know what I'm watching here.
That one was tough because that came out all in one day. I remember, like, I might have still been unemployed then, which would have made it easier. Maybe I was at the job I had where there was hardly ever work to do. I can't remember. But I like did my best. I think I watched it in like 2 days. But I did my best to avoid spoilers. But at one point I saw Kelly Wentworth's tweet just like, Suri motherfucking Fields. And like, respect and understand that sentiment, believe you me. But I was a little like, that might mean, but I was like, or maybe she does something impressive. And then so towards the end, I was like, okay, well, she's gonna win.
Yeah.
But is she gonna have to share it with this guy who, like, again, don't watch The Bachelor, but I was working with people who did during his season, and so I knew. Do you know about Ari's infamous moment of The Bachelor?
No, I know nothing about any member of the moments of Bachelor.
Fair, but so what he is most known for is having proposed to a woman, and then between when that happened and when they have like the finale where they're like, oh, we're engaged, decides to break up with her on camera when they're supposed to have their like happy couples visits because he wanted to switch to the second place woman, and they are in fact still married. So I guess he was right.
Made the right call.
Yeah, but it was like a crazy thing. They did like an SNL. It was a whole thing. Anyway, so yeah, when he like steps aside, I was like, let's fucking go. Yeah. That's all.
Did you feel like this season, because this is, I have no way of judging how it plays for other people. It's complete bias. You feel like it lost a little steam when Rob got taken out? I mean, no, Carolyn's still around then, but obviously she doesn't do much of well after that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Rob was very impressive at the roundtables. Like, the fact that he lasted as long as he did, like, is crazy. I could see that. I mean, I don't know. At that point, I had started to shift, into like rooting
for Dylan and
people.
Gabby
like,
and stuff.
Yeah, Dylan and Gabby. Like, I was still hoping that Carolyn was like gonna do something because it kept seeming like she had these ideas that were the correct idea. That's actually, I think, more so than the traitors murdering each other. I think a lot of their biggest flaws were murder choices. I think that's what they did badly. Like, murdering, even in the beginning, but especially at the end. Like, I'm glad they didn't, but the fact that Dylan made it as far as he did. Like, they should have murdered Dylan when they murdered Tom Sandoval. But whatever. That doesn't, we don't need to get too much into this. But, yeah, like, I still found stuff to enjoy. I'm trying to remember, like, when that all like, I think I was still, rooting enough for hoping Carolyn was going to pull something off, but then she didn't.
No. I remember, like, my take was like, yeah, she should, like, Brittany come in and then backstab her, and people were like, no. And part of that was because, I was old enough to remember when she said she was going to go after Danielle, and that would be a way to do it, which was, one day previous. Carolyn actually ended up being kind of a disappointment for me. Some entertainment value, but... and it's unfair, different games and all that, but like what happens with her and how it ends, it's like, okay, now I get why she got no votes in Survivor. It's like, watching and rooting for her and like her getting the space to explain things to us in Survivor. We're like, okay, yeah, no, she's doing stuff. But then seeing when she had to explain things to other competitors, like, I bet that's what it was like at Final Tribal Council too.
Yeah, like, especially, I think it was never more clear than in the roundtable where she goes home, which seems obvious, but like, because I think most of the people there were probably like, well, it's Carolyn and Danielle.
Yes.
And it's like, and they chose for a reason, right? And it's like, yeah, like, and Danielle, who I was not a fan of during the season, although it's very much to me like almost and this I don't think it's our listeners, but like other people online and stuff. It's like when I didn't like The Last Jedi, and then I was like, wait, no, but not because of that. Like, I was like, oh, I'm not really vibing with Danielle, and then I was like, people are like offended that she like swore on her grandchildren. I was like, oh, I don't give a shit about that. That's not real.
No, it was just like the shaky like Chihuahua bullshit.
Yeah, it just drove me nuts. And so then, especially after getting Carolyn out, it's just like, oh my god. But then that's why at the reunion, I was like, oh, well, now she seems much more self-assured. I was like, this Danielle I'm fine with, who's like owning her shit. But the reunions are not good. They need to not have it be Andy Cohen, because then it's just too much like a Bravo thing. They need to have like, and
he keeps trying to bring it to that level, but the show, especially this season, is not that, like, because they got rid of most of them early.
Right. And you just have Dorinda, who's so offended that Bob the Drag Queen doesn't watch Housewives, which was actually, that was really funny, but not for the reason I think she thought it. She's like, he said he doesn't even know who I am. He's like, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I still don't know who she is.
He's like, hey, I don't know who you are. He's like, yeah, that's fine. You don't watch Drag Race. Like, that makes sense. Like, he's not, like, as, you know, he's one of the first seasons I went, but it's like, yeah, Bob the Drag Queen opened for Madonna. Like, he is not worried about a Real Housewife.
So yeah, no, I mean, I find it's a fun, silly show. Like I said, the Traitors turning on each other kind of brought, like, it was new and different from what I'd seen in the 2 other seasons I've seen. I do worry that if they don't let the strategy progress, that like the gimmick will wear off at some point. But I think it still has some life.
Yeah, I would not expect it to have the lifespan that Survivor does.
No. Or even, like, again, the ones we don't watch, Amazing Race and Big Brother have been around for a long time, too. The Challenge has been around long. No, not longer, I guess, because it wasn't always the Challenge. It was the Real World before that.
Yeah, but I think as that, it's maybe longer, but fewer seasons.
Yeah. But what I do like out of Traitors is, like, it's a fun little show that gives, like, a second experience for us to, like, see some of our faves, right? In some ways, that's like, yeah, it was fun. Like, I actually didn't think Boston Rob would be a good fit. And maybe that's why the show actually, for me, took a dip, because maybe he changed the vibe through his force of personality to a point where, like, wasn't quite Traitors-esque, so I get if other people weren't vibing with it. But, like, I'm not interested in seeing him in Survivor again. But, like, all these little things that, like, give, like, our, the Cerise and, Rob and Parvati's, like, homes, I'm in favor of it. Like, I didn't watch this season of Deal or No Deal Island, because after watching the first one, I'm like, there's some fun drama. It was fun seeing Rob, but at the end of the day, it's still just random number generator. Like, I just could. This is too dumb.
No, I think that's like, I think.
And yeah, from what I get the sense of, spoilers, kind of, Parvati's still in the game, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like, I don't know that I could watch this show if Boston Rob wasn't in it, and he made the, like, final episode of that season. So
right, like, it was like, and I think, like, for me, it'd be like, think of the equivalent for you would be like if the first season of this Parvati was on it, and you're like, oh, check that out, and then the second, and you're like, oh, that's kind of silly, but hey, at least Parvati was on the whole time, and then the next season they had Boston Rob.
I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna come back, but yeah, reverse, especially because like there's some really good TV shows that I haven't had time for. This ain't it. So yeah, any other thoughts about Traitors this season?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, again, if people want to talk about that, we obviously had the post there. But yeah, it's fun. Like, Alan is so funny, he's so great.
Alan's great. Alan's the king.
Yeah, and like I said, like, it's what we do, so I understand. And the show has elements of it to talk about strategy, but all of that is, like, tertiary to the experience of the Traitors. And I feel like the best, like, performers on the show get that. That, like, they're here to put on a show. Because, like, I've wondered, like, for the game, it would be better if maybe they don't always cast a survivor as a traitor or a gamer or whatever. Because now those people just, like, get meta suspicion on them. Like, well, it's got to be one of them. But at the same time, I don't know if it would be all that entertaining if they have a bunch of Tom Sandoval as the traitors, right? So,
although...
maybe him specifically would be fine. I actually got a lot of entertainment from Tom because I don't know anything about him otherwise than the dipshit he was in this show.
I know about Scandival, but that's all. Like, I don't watch any of.
Yeah, like the name sounded familiar, but
yeah, but no, I I agree, but I also do think, yeah, with like the meta of it, that it would be better maybe if they at least said like, this is random. Like Alan's not deciding. Like we're pulling it out of it. Like it's a randomizer. Like just because like it does kind of suck, you know, for people, like, because also that can take away the entertainment eventually. Like maybe it's still early enough in the season, but it's like with Survivor, right? Like they did the tribe swap in season 3 because you already had the first 2 seasons, everybody just sticking together after the merge, you know, just like a way to like bounce it around, keep it a little fresh, or maybe, you know, cast more people like that so there's not as much of, you know,
yeah, and that's like the people who really care about the game are like, well, they should have more gamers. They shouldn't have these Bravos. It's like, you guys are in the wrong spot. This is their home, and our gamers are the visitors. You know.
But it's sort of like how you know, they kind of got to it in a point in that like, because Boston Rob was there, you would have otherwise assumed Tony was a traitor.
Yeah.
But like there were more options, you know. So that's sort of more what I think I'm getting at, and like mix it up a little. Like, you know, the fact that they had Bob be a traitor. That's actually what they need to do, is not just have one queen from Drag Race every season. Have a couple. They're fun. I know you don't know any of these people, but it's like you would enjoy, you know, especially in this kind of context. Like, you know, there are some stars. We're on season 17 right now. Like, they have people they can pull from.
Yeah, and Bob was great.
Bob is great. And yeah, like Monet Exchange, like Katya would be fun to, like, and those are just like the superstars. There are people you could, anyway, that's what they should do. You know, we don't maybe need 5 housewives, but we could have like maybe 3 housewives and 2 drag queens, God forbid. Yeah.
But yeah, like I never thought Rob had a chance. For one, at this stage of his career, he just has too much reputation. But like Parvati never had a chance. Like people just assumed that the show would make Parvati a traitor, which is ironic because they didn't. Yeah. And so like that's why. But at the end of the day, it was like it's just not worth getting upset about. Like that's not for me. I've just accepted that like Traitors isn't really a strategy show. It's a Bravo show pretending to be one. And again, the U.S. version. If you guys want to like, oh no, you have to watch Canada. I'm not going to watch Canada. It's not going to happen. I'm from Canada. I recognize our strengths in TV, and like this ain't it. All right, for the 100th time, I'm going to say that's enough for tonight. So anybody, if you have any takes, obviously comment on this post, or you can send us a fan mail, or you can even contact us on Blue Sky, is a thing, I believe. And by us, I mean Emma.
Yeah, it's me.
All right, anything else?
Theme music.
This is the copyright-free outro to another niche Survivor podcast.